Science fiction is a genre that is full of classic titles, books that one simply must read in order to call themselves a fan of science fiction, a true fan. And with a certain degree of embarrassment, I have to admit that I have not read quite a few of these classic titles, and it seems to me like March is as good a time as any to remedy that. So I'm gonna make March my classic science fiction month catch up read. I don't know what I'm gonna call it, but I'm gonna read some classic sci-fi in March. Now, the golden age of science fiction was the 20s, the 30s. Tons of pulpy stuff came out, but those decades kind of lifted science fiction into the consciousness of readers in America especially. Now, the new wave that followed that, the 50s really, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, tremendous books. These are the classics that I'm gonna talk about. But let's start off with something even more recent. So, the first book I want to talk about is Hyperion. I am 3/4 of the way through this more recent classic. I think it was written in the 90s. And oh my God, Dan Simmons, what a writer. My first Dan Simmons book, and I am loving it. It's simply incredible stuff. We're following pilgrims on a pilgrimage to the time tombs of Hyperion, and each pilgrim tells his or her own tale, Canterbury style. So first person perspective, we're going from one to the next, and each tale seems to up the ante of craziness, of insanity. It seems to me like each tale could spawn its own book. It's just incredible, the ideas in this book. I'm fascinated, endlessly in love with this book already. It's definitely going up into the stratosphere when it comes to my most favorite sci-fi reads ever. I cannot wait to finish this one. I only have maybe like 100 pages to finish it. And I'm definitely gonna pick up the follow-ups to this and hopefully enjoy them as much. Although I do know that they're gonna be quite different from this book because they're gonna miss that aspect of the Canterbury tale style. So yeah, so this is a more modern classic, but one that I'm super excited to have finally picked up. Now, the next book on the list is one that was written in the 50s. So now we're talking about the true classics, right? The true classics that was about 70 years back. So there may be some things that I'm not gonna like about these books. Sometimes things creep into them that are that make today's reader a little bit uncomfortable, but I think these books are so important, and I love the fact that they're like jumping into a time ship when you're reading books from these decades, the 50s, the 60s. So that is something that I enjoy, even though I struggle with some of the portrayals of women and some other things. But anyway, Clifford, Simak, The City, this is a classic. It's a stitch-up novel, but it's much loved by many. I'm gonna love the aspect about dogs in this book, the sentient dogs, the talking dogs. I already know I'm gonna love that. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. It is that it says on the back, a high watermark in science fiction writing. So yeah, and it's a short read, a little, maybe like 250 pages. So this is gonna be my second classic that I'm hoping to read in the month of March. Let's move on to Isaak Asimov. I mean, he is one of the maybe top 3 writers of the genre overall, if you ask most experts, as far as his influence on others. And this book was hugely influential, The I, Robot. Also, 50s, I believe, is when it was written, 1950 or 1951. And I have no clue how it took me so long to read this book. I've read so many other titles by Asimov and I've missed this one. So we'll see how I enjoy it. I know I'm gonna like it. Again, it's a short book. I love robots, androids, particularly, I think. So I'm gonna love this book. I'm pretty sure, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm gonna be really happy when I can say I've read I, Robot. Just checking this book off the list of the classic titles is gonna mean a lot to me. But let's go back to more recent books again that are considered by many kind of a classic read in the genre. So we're talking about The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? And this is a recent, more recent book than the others anyway. I believe it's like 1980 when it was written. Let's check actually why, since we're doing this, why get it wrong? Was it 1979? So I was close. I was close enough. 1979 is where it all started with this type of farcical science fiction. I don't know if I'm gonna find it funny. I think this is really what everything hinges on with this book and the follow-ups also. If you like the humor, if you get the humor, if it hits, then you're gonna love it. Because if it doesn't, I think it falls apart. So I'm not sure about this one. I'm really curious. I could easily see myself loving this, and I could see myself hating this book. So we'll see. I'll let you know what I think once I've read it. Now, here's another one that I've read, Fahrenheit 451. I've already read the book, but just yesterday I read this graphic novel of the classic dystopian, one of the classics, along with 1984 and Brave New World. Fahrenheit 451 is one of those classic titles that one has to read in order to understand that aspect of science fiction, that trope, the dystopian future that it presents. And this graphic novel is really beautifully drawn. I was really impressed with the drawings and how they work with the story. The Bradbury's writing can be difficult. You really have to be in it to understand the structure of sentences, the way he puts, the way he writes. So it was actually an easier read for sure in the graphic novel form, but it was still a serious read, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I'm happy that I read this classic in this form. And last book I'm hoping to be able to get to this month as well is Stranger in a Strange Land. I mean, this is a true classic in the genre. I think this is one that everyone needs to read. And I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy it. Heinlein, I know there's some things about him that bother folks. I've heard other reviewers, I've read things. So I don't know how I'm going to enjoy Stranger in a Strange Land. But I'm really curious to see if this story pulls me in, because I'm hoping the story will be good enough and the writing will be good enough to kind of make up for maybe some of those some of those things that may bother me, maybe some of the things about women, the treatment of women in this book or in his books generally speaking is not ideal. But again, it was a different time, and I think that has to be considered when reading classic titles, and the importance of them in understanding how the progress is made is really important, because if you don't know where we came from, you cannot hope to understand where we are and hopefully where we're going with some of the social changes that are taking place. So anyway, I'm excited about my March, because some of these titles are fabulous. I hope some of these books will be as good as Hyperion. I don't know if they can be really as engaging, as mind-blowing, as thought-provoking as Hyperion. And I'm hoping to have a fabulous month of March reading these books. And also, please let me know if you've read some of these titles. Did you like them? Did you enjoy them? Are there some science fiction classics that you have missed and you're hoping to read this year? I'm really curious. Leave a comment, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.